The changes that we're seeing in the life science industry may seem unprecedented, but they remind me of another time. So, as usual with this column, let me give you an academic background before I turn to some practical applications. When Mark Twain famously said that history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme, he was, like Nietzsche and others before him, suggesting that we might learn about the future by considering how historical patterns recur. I suggested this recently when I facilitated a Blue Skies thinking meeting at our leadership group in the life sciences industry. At first, my audience was sceptical. They asked me, rightly, when have we previously seen globalization, huge technological leaps, massive demographic change, and other trends all occurring at the same time? And they made a good point. The convergence of those trends and others does seem without precedent. And indeed, we can't truthfully say that the current events that the industry is seeing are history repeating itself. But I would argue that we can hear it rhyming. In the early 21st century, we're seeing globalization as trade and companies transcend borders. But in the late 19th century, we saw analogous trends. The USA opened up, Germany and Italy unified, European empires, especially the British, created a global trading network that gave rise to the first multinationals. Today, our understanding of how disease and wellness work is taking great leaps forward. But 100 years ago, Pasteur and Koch developed germ theory, and organic chemistry was where genomics and systems biology are today. In that historical period that we now call the Second Industrial Revolution, communications technology leapt forward with steam trains and ships and telegraphs and telephones, allowing businesses to be controlled over continental distances. It's not hard to see parallels with our connected world of today. And at the same time, the sociologist Max Weber talked about the age of disenchantment when the public began to move their faith from superstition to science. To me, that is echoed in today's death of deference towards the medical profession. And there are many other parallels between the age that my grandmother was born into and the world in which my daughters are growing up. Even the peer pressure we see today is a reflection of the emergence around the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries of early social welfare programs. Now, the details are different, of course, but in a surprising number of ways, today rhymes with that earlier period. But does partly matter? Is it significant that today has parallels with more than a century ago? Well, I think it does, because at that time was when the industry as we know today began to evolve. Prior to that time, the apothecary was the dominant business model, but by around 1930, the apothecary had become extinct in the West at least, and had speciated into the OTC company, the retail channel, and research-based companies. A careful study of that period tells us that the changes in the technological and social environments forced a spurt of evolution in our industry's business models. And that brings us to the practical application of these ideas. If in the Second Industrial Revolution those environmental changes led to the extinction of the dominant apothecary business model and its replacement with 2 or 3 new ones, we might expect to see parallel developments today. And indeed that's what we're seeing. Companies like Roche and others are examples of the evolution of a very specialised and technologically advanced business model that in some of my books I've called the genius model. Similarly, the consolidation of generics is part of the emergence of what I call the monster imitator model. And my work predicts many other models and submodels. And the practical upshot of this, well, history rhymes, evolution spurts, and our industry is speciating, and current business models are endangered species. Of course, you might think that this stuff doesn't apply to you in your business, but the apothecaries didn't think it applied to them either.